Oh, I'm feeling low again, and I don't wanna let it go.
Welcome to Domino One. I'm your host, Smith Paul, and I'm very blessed and fortunate today to have a special guest in the studio with me. Before I even introduce her, I'd like to ask one question. We see and we hear about a lot of different topics permeating through the media or on our social media feeds, but how often do you hear about the Amish community? I mean, I have heard quite a bit about it, and if you live in PA or Virginia or someplace where there's a big community of Amish people, then you know what you know from the outside looking in. But today I'm very, very excited to have my guest, Ella Mae, to really give us an insight about the Amish community. But most importantly, as I do on this channel, we try to raise awareness as to what CSA is or SA and how prevalent it is in our society right now. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce my special guest today, Ella Mae. Ella Mae, how are you?
I'm doing good. Thank you for having me.
It's my privilege. It's my privilege. So right off the bat, we're just going to get going. So Ella Mae, if you wouldn't mind just telling the audience a little bit about who you are, and then we'll dive deeper into your background and how you come to be about and everything you've got going on right now.
Yeah, I'm Ella Mae Miller, and I live in Center County. And I was raised in the Amish culture in Allensville, but it's like a small town between Belleville, Mill Creek, and that's the Amish culture is very different than what we're living in now.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. So you were born in this culture, and your mom, dad, all your family, are they still Amish? They're still living in this culture or no?
Yes. Yeah. My whole family was born in the Amish culture. Like if you go down the line, they actually weren't Amish, but somebody came out of the outside world is what the Amish call them and became Amish. So yeah, they are still Amish. I have some uncles that left the Amish. So yeah, they're pretty much Amish yet.
Now, let me ask the question. So when I was in high school, before I ask the question, so I'll tell you a quick little story. It's a fun story. When I was in high school, my senior year, my high school took a trip to an Amish community where we spent 2 days with them. And it was a wonderful trip where we get to eat the best foods and we get to ride horses and buggies, and we did some farm work, and it was just great. The simplicity of life. The funny part about it is that me and my friend, we were the only Black people on that trip. And so the little Amish kids would just like be staring at us and trying to figure us out. And at some point they wanted to come up to us and then touch us. And it was just so different. And obviously we thought it was just funny. And at some point we may have used that a little bit too much, where we're just trying to scare them. We just like look away and then look at them real quick and then just like run away. But it was so much fun. And I remember the food being so wonderful. But that's my little story about the time that I got to spend with the Amish community that we were spending time with. Now, we're not going to try to paint, obviously, we're not going to try to paint all Amish people as bad people. I would like to just jump into your abuse that you experience within the Amish community. So first question is that something that's more, is that something that's happening a lot more than people realize, since it's such a close-knit type of community?
Yes, there's a lot. Like it's so bad that it's just even beyond words. And like when I was being abused, at first I thought I was the only one.
Mm-hmm.
But with time, I found out I wasn't the only one because you didn't talk about it. If you did, you were like blamed.
Mm-hmm.
Like if it was like a girl, she was blamed. It was your own fault, even if it was her granddad or something like that, her abusing like a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
So yes, it happens a lot more. But then, and like, I agree with you. I do not want to like blame every Amish family that has abuse, because there's a lot of good people in the Amish and that are like shocked that this is going on, because there's a lot of good people in the Amish yet.
Right.
But when I got abused, I didn't have a voice because my language was Pennsylvania Dutch. That's my birth, and I didn't have a voice. So it was very hard.
Oh, I'm sure. Wow. We're going to dive deeper into this, but just for the audience, you are talking about sexual abuse, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So speaking of that, again, whether it's from within the Amish community or within just our culture in general and our society, when you look up the numbers, they're just staggering. But what's even more staggering is the fact that anywhere that you read, they will make sure to tell you, if you dig a little bit deeper, they will tell you those numbers are just really the floor and not the ceiling, meaning those are the people who are brave enough, such as people like Ella Mae, people like myself. Not that I want a pat on the back or anything like this. I wrote my book about CSA. We want to acknowledge, hey, this is a problem and we need to raise awareness for it. We need to let people know about it. And for a simple reason, really, those things shouldn't be happening if we want a future that's a little bit more grounded and more that we can count on for our kids to not have to worry about that kind of stuff and for them to grow in a safe community in a safe environment without having to worry about anything like that. Now, why do you think so the Amish so when something like that happens to you, you say you didn't have a voice, but within the Amish community, is there somebody you can go and talk to and report that behavior?
Not really. I mean, I eventually did go to the elders
Mhm.
of the church, but they don't like to do that stuff, like work
Mhm.
with that stuff. They just told me you need to forgive and forget and move on. And then there's places that they have like counseling facilities for the Amish that if I would have made a big issue about it,
Mhm.
they would have took me there and they would have put me on medication because I'm not obeying the rules or something like that.
Wow. That's incredible. So basically you saying within the Amish community, women in particular don't really have much of a voice. Is
Not
that
really.
correct?
Yeah. From
Wow.
where I grew up in
Okay.
that area, yes. But every community varies different
Mhm.
because, like, some areas, the women are allowed to have
Mhm.
more voice.
Yeah.
But
So
where I was raised for 17 years, that was like the women were supposed to be home working and being quiet and stuff like that.
did your parents ever kind of figured out what was happening or did what about your parents? Did they know that was happening and being that you are a girl or at the time and that they just pretended that it didn't happen or they didn't want to deal with it? So what was your parents' attitude towards the whole thing?
Well, I didn't talk to my mom about it till, I was actually married, and she
Okay.
didn't believe me. She said there was this couple of things that she did to me that I now am like, she knew there was something going on, and she didn't do anything further than that. But then when I talked to her about it when I was married, she didn't believe it. So but with my dad, we are not we this like, there's just no education on
Yeah.
stuff like
So
this.
yeah, so within the I'm sure within the Amish community, basically everybody knows each other. But the perpetrator, the person who was doing that to you, was that somebody within your family or a close friend or somebody within your circle?
Yeah, it was like cousins and then a neighbor boys and then like a Mennonite chiropractor,
Hmm.
an Amish man. Yeah, it was like people we knew,
Yeah.
and that's often how it is.
Yeah. I mean, statistically speaking, so CSA or any SA, you will find 70%, 70 plus percent of the perpetrators or the people within our circle. So meaning they could be a family friend, they could be a family member, an uncle and an aunt, cousin in your case. It could even be your pastor, your somebody from the church. And
Mhm.
so that's what makes it so sickening and so important for us to talk about it because it is basically the definition of a wolf in sheep clothing. Because how are you going to know it's those people? And it makes it even tougher because it's not some stranger from the streets. And again, those numbers, even with 70+% are somebody from within your circle, and which is why it makes it so hard for people to come out and report it. And those who have, and they got the kind of treatment that you've been getting. So that's what makes it so hard. So, and I'm very sorry about everything that happened to you, by the way. So, how are you coping right now? Is that something that did it leave just lasting, like more than just lasting damage, but like, are you able to live life right now fairly comfortably and that is kind of behind you right now, or is that
Oh,
still something
yeah.
you struggle with?
I mean, like, just like I've been healed from my abuse, like, a lot. Like, I
Yeah,
did inner
that's good.
healing, if you know what inner healing is, but I did
Mhm.
that a lot, and I I don't dread that anymore.
Mhm.
Like, I have overcome a lot of fears, like,
Good for you.
even to the point that I'm not afraid of the dark. That was a big thing,
Mhm.
for me. Like, when we even were first married, when I got up in the middle of the night, my husband had to be right with me.
Mhm.
Like, I overcome that too. Yeah,
That's
it's
good.
just it's Jesus. He
Yeah,
healed me.
that's good.
So,
So
yeah.
again, it's you mentioned Jesus, and for me, that was a huge, probably the biggest, most important piece in my life that helped me deal with mine. And that's Jesus also pushed me to write my book, Scars Beneath the Skin, because um, and I'm sure for you, for me, or anybody who's been a victim of CSA, we don't like to talk about it, and it's that secret that keeps us in the darkness. And the longer we wait and stay in the darkness, the perpetrators, those people committing those heinous acts, they're able to carry on with their evil deeds. And so that's why, again, this is my plea to anybody who's been abused, anybody who's been through any sorts of abuse, especially sexual abuse. The healing is not going to be in the dark. I can guarantee you that as somebody who's been through it, the healing is not going to be by you staying quiet. You don't have to write a book like I did. You don't have to do what Ella Mae is doing, which I'm sure she's going to talk to us a little bit about some of the things that outreach that she's doing. But you got to speak up. You got to speak up. You got to find a person that you trust. You got to find your little circle where you can confide in and talk to somebody, try to get the healing that you need because your full potential is waiting on the other side of that. And yeah. So next question for you, Ella Mae. So right now you said you're married. So do you have kids? Do you have a husband? Do you have kids?
Yeah, I have a husband. We have 4 angels in heavens.
Sorry to
That's
hear that. And I'm happy that
where our
they're in
family
heaven.
is. Oh,
Yeah.
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 Uh,
So within the Amish community, so what work do you think can be done to help with such problem? Again, it's so close knit. It's such a closed up community. Somebody like me couldn't just go in there and then interview people and try to get to the bottom of anything. I would imagine. What do you think could be done to help those people who are going through what you went through?
I guess for me, this is what we did. We're handing out these cards. If I would
Hmm.
have had something like this just somewhere that somebody gave me, it would have meant the world to me, even if I had no courage to reach out.
Hmm.
So that's what we've been doing. We had, like, they do a lot of writing. So I put an address on it.
So tell me more about that. So what is that exactly? So what's the name of that? I'm assuming it's some sort of outreach that you do and trying to help victims
Yeah.
within the community or raise awareness of what could happen. So tell me a little bit more about what you have going on there.
Yeah, it's like a card here that we hand out to Amish children, women, and it says, "Does someone hurt you? Are you sad? You matter. I was hurt and sad too. I am here for you and I care for you." It's very simple because where I was raised, they use very simple words.
Hmm.
And I wanted them to know that if they have the courage to reach out, that I'm here for them.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And I find with something so personal and so deep, it's always hard to approach people. And it's always even harder for them to approach you because there's a trust issue going on here.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing right now, I respect it and I wish you nothing but luck. And if I can help in any ways, please do let me know. Cause again, it's not just the book, it's not just the podcast, but every time you open your mouth, you talk about that kind of problem or you raise any types of concern, it helps. It could be a little. It could be you could be raising the problem. You could be talking exactly at the right time. That one exact person needs to hear what you have to say to help them get through. So I really appreciate that you're doing that.
Thank
Now,
you.
of course. So within the Amish community, if you were to go to, I'm not sure how the hierarchy works, like who you go to talk to about anything like that. Are you able to go to the police? I know sometimes you guys may not have phones or
Yeah.
electricity. Again,
Yeah.
excuse my lack of knowledge, but who do you go to report an issue like that?
Okay. Well, when I found out that there were so many abuses going on after we were married, it was more. I started talking about my abuse
Hmm.
more. And then there were young teenage girls coming to me about their abuse. So the Amish are supposed to go to the elders, like the ministers and the
Mm-hmm.
bishop and stuff like that. So they didn't want to help me. They were just like, you need help at a counseling place. I need to forgive and forget about everything.
Hmm.
But I didn't stop there. So I went to the law enforcement, the police, and that was a very no. They want to take care of the abuse by themselves, their way. So it was, some areas they don't have phones. Where I was raised, they didn't have, like, there was a community phone, and writing was a lot in that
Mhm.
area, that how you communicate. So it's hard. It was hard. I wouldn't have even known how to get a hold of a police when I was being abused. I always knew the police were there for us, but we also had like a fear in us because they were the police. It's just really controlled. They really control you with fear. If
Do you
that
do you think the Amish, what do you call it? Is it a community, a religion? Like, what is it exactly?
To me, since I found Jesus, I think it's a cult.
Mm.
Very close cult.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like to use that word, but the way they operate, and I already know about cults, it is kind of, they try to control you the
Right.
way they want you to live.
Especially women, it sounds like where women don't get equal rights, equal
Yeah.
opportunities.
Yeah, I was often told I stepped out of my boundary because I talked too much, I pushed too much to keep the little children safe. And I was always like fearful of people hurting little children, that I wasn't normal.
I think that's a good way to describe it, especially after telling me what you have been through. And a cult is a good way to describe it. So you think they're misguided. So now you're no longer an Amish, correct?
No,
Okay. So do you still talk to your parents, your family who are still Amish?
uh, I haven't talked to my parents for over 5 years now. One of my sisters, I can talk, and we're closer now than we ever were. They live in Lancaster County, and they're not so, they're more modern in a way of
What
their,
does that mean, if I may cut you up? So modern, does that mean they use some of the things that we use, as in
more.
electricity, phones, cars, and stuff like that?
But they have more cell phones and stuff like that, and they
Okay.
don't hold the Amish rules over your heads as
Okay.
much.
Okay.
Like, they don't shun us.
Okay.
There's We're just normal people, like
What?
they are.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
But yeah, then with my parents, like, we went to visit them after being 5 years after we left. We went to visit them, and it was a weird, like, we didn't know really what to talk about because they held them so stiff and weren't friendly.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's 5 years that we haven't seen them, so
Wow.
it's
What?
hard.
My goodness. Yeah, absolutely. I commend you for what you've done. Absolutely. I can only imagine. What are Mennonites, and what's the difference between them and, I guess, should I say regular Amish?
Yeah. Well, there's like horse and buggy Amish.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I was, but then there's horse and buggy Mennonites and the Mennonites. The Mennonites, they are allowed to have electric and cars and stuff like that, but they still need to be like it's just, I'm not sure, they wouldn't have TV, radio, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's more of the worldly stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But that also has like a lot of rules and stuff, and a lot of abuse in that. Mennonites are, I mean, just as bad as the Amish with their sexual abuse things going on under the children.
So let me ask you a question. So if you were right now to just venture a guess, just to give me a percentage, what percentage of kids, little girls growing up in the Amish community, do you think are experiencing that, or who have experienced sexual abuse? What ballpark would you put it at? 1, 2, 3%, or more than that?
I would say 96 or something like that.
96%? Wow.
I mean, that's my view. Maybe
Mhm,
somebody else would have a different view, but
mhm.
it's a generation thing. It's so bad
Hmm. Wow. I mean, that's
because, like,
mind-blowing.
the one of the people that abused me, I know he was abusing his children were abusing their cousins. It's like a general curse, I think. I would
Is there a lot of incest happening in the Amish community? Like, do you have cousins marrying cousins? You have stuff like
like,
that going on?
they don't marry cousins, but second cousins.
You marry second
It
cousins?
it's very close, too close.
Okay. And that's something that's allowed. It's not that,
Yeah.
they wow, that's incredible. That's a high percentage.
I mean, some people wouldn't say that, but I've seen
Sure.
so many and
Right.
heard so much. It's just like, where are the innocent children anymore that
Mhm.
were hurt?
So how do you think okay. So now that you're not an Amish, so you don't live in that community, is there a way to stop it? Is there a way for the government to do anything? Are there rules? Are there structures to set in motions where it's not so frequent?
Well, we still live in the area where we lived when we were Amish and
Mhm.
surrounded by the Amish, and they're really aware that what we're doing. And there's like even some of the Amish that are support us kind of behind the elders' backs or whatever you say. They've been asking us to stay right there because they won't relax so easy. The guys that do the abuse, we need to stay in that area so they're not relaxed. They made rules with the law enforcement and stuff how to handle the Amish that we're working on right now to change it because the Amish don't need to be treated separately
Mhm.
than non-Amish when they are abusing kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's about the only thing that will change if the law enforcement and the government um, do what
Intervene.
should be done.
Yeah. So do you think they would believe somebody who's not within the Amish community to talk about that? Like if somebody like myself, I'm not saying I'm going to do it and I'm not saying I'm not going to, but I'm saying as an example, if somebody like myself who was not raised Amish and saying like, hey, this is what I hear is happening within that community, we need to, figure out a way for that to stop. Do you think that the government or any other external organizations can come in and kind of do something like that? Who holds, I guess my question would be to be more precise, who holds the Amish accountable for their behaviors and actions?
The elders and the bishops.
So meaning so if they're a part of it and if they know it's happening, they're okay with it, that problem will never go away then.
No, because they're involved in it too.
Wow.
I mean, I know a lot of the ministers that are abusing their own kids, their own grandchildren.
So nobody else, so they are at the top of the pyramid. So nobody else can hold them accountable, not even the law.
Well, the law can try, but there are certain ways they deal with the law because it's their religion that they take care of their own people when sexual abuse comes in the light. But there's been some that did get in jail because a lot of people and the wife went to the police, and then they did get jail. They are getting jail time. That's the only way if a woman is strong enough. Excuse me. That's the only way that will stop in that family.
Hmm. Wow. And so, but that woman also is at risk of being shunned from the community.
Exactly.
Wow. That
But
is,
yeah, I mean, if we are trying to have meetings with a lot of people to try and come up with a safe way to that the children are safe, and the more people we have to back us up, the more power we have, or if that's the word, they might be harder. They would work harder
hmm,
to change the rules that the Amish make, and then give the CYS and all those people
hmm,
it to follow. But yeah,
yeah,
I mean, to me, it's with my ministry. It's not that I want the children or anybody to leave the Amish because they have a lot of good points. They have a lot of valuable
hmm,
things that I even miss. But it's just, I want those children to be safe. I want them to have a voice when they need a voice.
yeah. No, I agree with you 100%. you're not trying to convert them into a different religion or a different lifestyle, but there's something
No.
that's happening within that community that needs to be rid of. Like they need to get rid of that because, just like you said, children don't deserve that. It doesn't matter what religion, where you were growing up from, or what what your background is. There are certain ethics and morals and rights, dare I say, that they need to have, and to just live an innocent life, especially when they're that little. They're not able to consent and make their own decisions. Now, to go back a little bit with your CSA, how did that affect the way you grew up? So give me like age from like when did it start happening? What age were you? How old were you?
What I remember is it started around 5 or 6. That's what I remember.
Mm-hmm.
But then I did more inner healing and I couldn't figure out when I got my healing which was through Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
that was the only way I got healing from all my trauma and my nightmares. Then when I couldn't figure out what some other things were I was dealing with, I did more healing and Jesus showed me I was actually a toddler when some stuff started. So it always affected me, when I was a kid. I never felt safe. So yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
that
not
is
sure if
one.
that
Yeah.
answers your question or not.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. So, and then did it keep happening from 5, 6 years old? Like, was it still happening right up until when? So when did you
I was in my early 20s.
early 20s? And is that when you also left the, let's just call it, well, the
Yeah.
cult or the
No,
Amish community?
that's when I started dating my husband and we got married.
How old were you then?
I think I was 24 when I got married.
Okay. Did you get married within the Amish community or outside of
Yes.
that?
Yes.
Did you,
Yeah.
was your husband an Amish as well?
Yes,
Is
he
your
was.
husband an Amish?
Yes, he was.
Is he still an Amish?
No.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you both left.
Yeah, we both left. Next month it'll be 10 years.
Wow. 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 So did he go through a similar thing? Like, did he get, you know, shunned from the community because he decided to,
Yeah.
kind of part ways and do different things? He's
Yeah,
still not seeing his parents or anything like that too?
he wasn't sexual abused, but he was verbally abused.
Hmm.
He had also had a terrible upbringing, like
Yeah.
childhood life.
Yeah. So right now, let's just, whether it's within the Amish community or anybody who's been abused, what kind of message do you have for them? Like what helped you aside from Jesus? I know Jesus is probably the number one thing, which was for me as well. But what other things can they do? What ways do you suggest that they live their lives to get closer to the healing? Of course, my book is definitely a good place to start, if I may plug my own book. But
Sure.
from your perspective, your opinion, what do you like? What are the steps that you had taken, and how were they, I guess, beneficial to you?
You mean like I'm
So let me clarify. So, um,
sorry. I'm
that's
not
okay.
sure
That's
what
completely fine. Don't be sorry. What would you tell somebody right now who's being abused?
I would tell them that they should find somebody that they trust
Hmm.
and make sure they are safe and they need to talk. They need to find the police and tell them it's going on. I'm not sure. The only answer is Jesus, it's just that's
Agree.
the only answer.
Hmm.
But I didn't know Jesus like I know now when I was Amish because we weren't allowed to study the Bible
What do you study within?
in the Amish.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing really.
So it's
We
not
were
really
allowed to read
religion.
the Bible, but it was in German and we didn't really understand German.
So you don't have a specific religion within the Amish community, correct?
Just like follow the bishop's rules, love everybody, forgive everybody, and work. You need to work.
Hmm. So, but there's no denomination. So it's not like they're Baptists or, uh, you know,
No.
nothing like that.
No, I'm not sure.
Is there a Bible that you guys read or no?
Yeah, a
Okay.
German Bible.
But German Bible based off of what religion? Do you know?
It's the King James.
Okay, gotcha. So
Yeah.
a version of Christianity. So that's why you guys,
Yeah, it's
but it's in German.
yeah, and I mean, I didn't understand it because the only way we learned how to read German was in school and we didn't understand what we were reading unless
Hmm.
I mean, my parents were a little bit more they like to push the fence if you know what that means.
What's that? They like to do what?
Kind of push the fence,
Meaning
trying
what?
to with the Amish rules.
Oh, okay. Got
So
you. Yeah.
we weren't allowed to have English Bibles,
Mm-hmm.
but they all gave us like the German on one side and the English on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of knew what we were reading, not much. So when we left, we got a Bible that, like, yeah, I
Gotcha.
mean, yeah, we weren't allowed to like study Bibles. Like, there's been people that had Bible studies and they got shunned.
Hmm. Gotcha.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's bad like that.
Wow. So let's talk about what you have going on right now, your ministry. What's that?
Did I take you down another road?
Listen, you gotta, no, I mean, it didn't. It's just, I love learning about it. Like I said, my only experience with the Amish was when I went on that school trip. And
Yeah.
so, but I know what everybody else knows from the outside looking in. I'm just astounded by the amount of abuse that's happening. But the more you talk, it makes sense to me. Cults are kind of known for those kind of shady and nasty behaviors, you know,
Mhm.
where the oversight is kind of not really there, or if it's there, they're the one in charge and also perpetrating those bad acts. So, you know, I never really thought about it much, but it just makes sense. And it breaks my heart that there's not a whole lot that can be done as opposed to if it was happening at some, I don't know, some school here, like in the neighborhood, and we knew about it. Somebody's gonna be like, hey, we got to get this guy out. We got to do this. We got to do that. Get the police involved. He needs to go to jail. It's not the structure that the Amish have. And so therefore it's just hard to imagine those people, those kids going through it. So as you were talking, I don't know, I just keep thinking about those kids and what they go through and how it's even harder, I would say, within the Amish community, because I know how hard it is to come out and speak about those traumas. And I know how it's just so, it holds you back, it holds you down. Again, it keeps you in the darkness because it makes you think that if you talk about it, you're just gonna make it worse. So you just kind of learn to live with it and just let it fester like a cancer. But I think about those Amish kids, not only they are at a disadvantage because of how the rules were set, where women don't have the same rights or are not being respected the same way men are, and then men just take advantage of it, and they're so stuck within that structure, and it's just, I don't know, it just saddens me. But tell me more about your ministry and what you're doing and how we can support.
Like, I also didn't even know English word.
Mhm.
I didn't know that until I was in the first grade, how to speak English. So
Mm.
that's also a big language is a big barrier.
I'd say you're doing really great. English is my third language and it's your second. I say, hey, let's go. We're doing pretty good, you know? I think anybody watching this podcast, they will be able to understand every syllable coming out of our mouth. So I'd say we're doing pretty good. Give yourself some credit, okay?
Thank you. But what we're doing, some of the things we're doing is giving these, handing these out, and
Mm-hmm.
going to parades, and also giving these frisbees out
Praise
to
be.
this
Okay.
something that the children would be allowed to play where I grew up. And I want them to have it's all my information on it. I
Mm-hmm.
want them to have it there when they're playing, so they have it.
Yeah.
Because if it's just a card, the mom or dad might just throw it away.
Yeah.
And then we also have these that why I'm doing this, why it's so important for me to be the voice for the voiceless that I didn't have a voice for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, we're going to parades, and
That's beautiful. Yeah.
and our ministry is called Bringing Light into the Darkness. So I was in the dark a long time. So now I'm living in the light, and I want to bring other people into the light too.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful.
So yeah, I
You know,
just
go ahead.
it just really burdens me because I know there's kids out there that don't know the English language and they need me, and because I needed somebody, so that all this just is it's such a burden on me because I know it hurts Jesus too, and he put it on me to do this ministry, or I
Mm.
wouldn't be where I'm now.
Yeah. You know, what kills me sometimes is the fact that I talk about this in my book, Scars Beneath the Skin. I was a Christian. I always have been. always been going to church, and not being able to talk to somebody at church also hurt a lot because and I guess the equivalent of that would be a kid in the Amish community not being able to go to your bishop and say, hey, so and so is doing this to me. I think as the church, we need to also be aware of it. And I think it's not a matter of not being aware of it. We might not be as aware of it, but we need to. This is a place where Satan kind of just strive. He loves just the darkness, operating in the darkness where he knows he can always win the battles. And I think as a church, we need to be more open. And I know it's not, and the reason why it's not being talked about as much also, it's because it has to do with sex. Like people don't want to talk about sex. Oh, it's just private. It's just this and that. It's awkward. But you want the awkwardness of it to keep you from solving this problem, from helping, from raising awareness for these kids who are just going through it. And people don't realize that too. I asked you those questions for a reason. How did it affect you and how does it affect you now? Is that something that you're still struggling with? Does it permeate into your marriage right now and so forth? When you go through stuff like that, it affects basically every single areas of your life. So we're talking about education. You are at a disadvantage because of CSA. You are at a disadvantage when it comes to friendships, relationships, when it comes to being a parent. There's stats out there for all of them. People who've been through CSA, they tend to abuse alcohol more. They tend to do more drugs. They tend to not be as good at school because they don't like to volunteer. They don't like to raise their hands. They don't like to be assertive because something so valuable was taken from them at a very young age, and they've never been able to compartmentalize that. They've never been able to rise up to their true potential. So when you think about all those things, all these areas that if you don't keep an eye out to your kids, if you're not vigilant, if you're not protecting your kids enough as with regards to parents, or if we're not talking about that enough, how many more kids will be going through it or who are going through it now and don't know how to deal with it? Think about all those areas that I just mentioned that will be affected. And
Right.
if we can't be okay with that, whether it's as a community, as a church, as a family, like we need to be okay with asking those questions and get to the bottom of them in order to avoid or in order to just give those kids a chance to live their full potentials. But that's kind of my 2 cents about that. Did you have anything else to add before we close?
Yeah, I mean, there's times that I still struggle with stuff like
Mhm.
nightmares. Sometimes I still do that. I mean, it takes time and it goes with you.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
It's not one of those things. And just like anything else, you can't erase the past. You can do better in the present. For sure, the future looks a little bit differently than what you had just experienced in the past. But you can't erase it. But you need to figure out a way to deal with whatever it is that happened in the past. And that's what CSA. That's what victims have to understand. It's not about going back and undo the trauma that you experienced, but it's about facing what it is that you experience and try to not let it continue to get the best of you, to not let it obscure your future or um, deter who you were really meant to be. And again, for both you and I, and this goes for anybody who's not really a believer, but especially if you're a believer in Christ, that should be your first and last line of defense. Anything else can happen between that, but you need to trust God because you will need to tap into your forgiveness mode. There will be a time for that. You
Yeah.
can't move in the future with baggage, sadly. Doesn't mean you forget, but you gotta, for me personally, forgiveness was a huge thing. But yeah, so
Yeah.
Ella
I
Mae,
mean,
yeah, go ahead.
it's like, even though if I struggle with nightmares and stuff like that, I still have that peace.
Of course, of course.
I didn't have that, but yeah, I still have that peace. Yeah. And the ministry is on Facebook. If anybody wants to follow me on Facebook, it's
Awesome.
called Bringing Light into the Darkness.
Yeah, yeah, awesome. And I really love the work that you're doing too. Again, I'm the kind of guy, I believe in the small things, the small but impactful things. It's just like like the ripple effect. So you drop a little pebble, a little stone in the water, you just watch the ripples just going and going and going and going. But you got to drop that little stone, right? You got to make that little dent. If you don't do that, then really all it is just like dreams and just I wish I could, woulda, coulda, shoulda, right? But I think we can all make a difference. I think we can all do something much more bigger than who we are. And if you think about it, that's who Jesus is. That's what God is. And we have that power within us to do those things. Doesn't belong to us, but with God, with the Holy Spirit, we can do a lot more than we realize we can do. But Satan is also very good at just telling us lies, stay in the darkness, don't talk about it, don't raise your voice, just keep it this way. You are the way you are. You're never going to be better. You are tainted. You are just dirty. All those lies. We go on and believing that they are true. And the more we believe that they're true, the more they hold us back. And so this message is for our survivors or everybody who's been through any types of abuse, but more specifically CSA or say, you're not alone, but you got to talk. You got to come out. And there are resources out there. And you will find the healing that you need. You might want to start with this book too. Might help you. Ella Mae, I really appreciate you taking the time today to speak with me. And I know for a fact that people will get something out of this, something that they certainly didn't know about the Amish community. And perhaps we need to start thinking.
Yeah.
If
With
we
that,
know, go
sorry.
ahead. No, I was going to say, if we know injustice is happening, we can't just pretend that we don't know. That's the whole goal. So I don't know the first thing about going into an Amish community. I'm just happy that you're doing that. You're doing your part. But I'll be thinking. And when the moment presents itself, I'll be ready, because now that you're telling me and we're telling the world that the Amish community, they're not as they're no saints. Like, no one is, but in that particular area, there are a lot of nefarious things happening. I'm putting, like, what we're doing right now, we're putting the word out there. We're letting people know, hey, listen, we need to start thinking about what we can do, because these kids, man, I can't stand the idea of just like kids not being able to go to sleep peacefully, not being able to move about peacefully without worrying about this predator out there just trying to take advantage of them, and just taking something that doesn't belong to them and leave those kids with this void. So that's what we're doing right now. We're raising awareness. We're putting it out there, and people need to know about that. So any last words?
Yeah, I agree 100% with you, because last year was the year that I was like, we need to stop talking about it and not just talk about and pray about it. We need to step out in boldness and do things, because the children are there for us. They're waiting for us Christians to step up and
Right.
keep them safe, because that's what Jesus said. We need to keep the children safe. And he revealed that to me so many times. When I was struggling having my babies in heaven, he revealed it to me that my babies in heaven, are depending on people like me to keep other children safe. And he's revealed that so many times. So it's time that we don't just talk about it and not just pray about it. We need to step up and be bold and keep them safe. And if anybody wants to help with my ministry, just go on Facebook. There's a QR code that if you want to put donations on or volunteer, we need everything we can to
Absolutely. So
help
I'll
my.
get that information from you. And so we'll also have that on the podcast so people can see it and go donate, go help however you can, raise awareness, go check out Ella Mae's ministry. What's the name of the ministry again?
Bringing light into the darkness.
Beautiful. Bringing light into the darkness. Folks, go support, go check out what she's got going on. Let's be people who just go out there and try to be better than we were the day before, and just do something that's bigger than us and try to leave a legacy. You don't know how far, how deep your little pebble, the ripple effects that it will make. So let's just go out there and do the good work. And thanks again, Ella Mae, for giving me your precious time, and I really appreciate it. And I hope the viewers get something out of this interview. And if you did, please don't forget to subscribe, like the channel, and most importantly, you got to share it. You got to share it, because that's what this whole thing's about. We're raising awareness, so we can't keep it to ourselves. Go ahead and share it. And if you want also a copy of my book, Scars Beneath the Skin, go ahead, head over to Amazon and you'll find it there. Support however you can. And I look forward to see you guys and talk to you guys again. Peace. Take care.